So, a basic recap of my experience. I went into the woods. Essentially, I got extreme existential dread to the point where it was like ruining my experience, and it was pretty terrible to deal with. And it was just basically like acid shattering all my hopes and dreams, telling me it's like the infinite will do nothing to help you be successful. You have just as much chances of making it as everyone else. People have no reason to like you. You are not the breed in which society picks up on. You pride yourself on your individualism. A society will not. Society is the mass, the herd that you will have to make yourself known to. The infinite will do you no favors. And you're stuck here. And all you can do is steer yourself in this slog, this fog of pattern of subcutaneous awareness fluid, which I know is not correct, but still that infinite substance in which you draw patterns in. And so I was feeling that, and it was fucking up my trip, and it was annoying to deal with. And until eventually I basically got the realization that it's like that in itself was really pretty. Basically, just the idea that it's like, well, not just that it was pretty, although that was a big part of it, but that specifically that it's like it was us. Like, there's no point. It's not efficient. There is literally no point in looking at Ashton as me. It's better to look at the infinite yawning chasm of fate. It's better to look at that as me on every possible level, including efficiency, all the way to truth. And essentially, once you viewed it through that lens, you got this sort of it was a beauty framework, but it was a beauty framework which was nothing had to be manufactured. You didn't have to be happy. You just were there, and there in the existential dread. And the existential dread is beautiful, inherently becomes beautiful. And your ego, it deals with the ego framework, because the ego is the infinite. It is that sort of yawning chasm. And it's just watching the humans speak and go in the gas station and get groceries and everything. It's just watching that happen. It's you know what I mean? It's like that's just the sideshow of like being the infinite cosmic howling void. You know what I mean? It's like to be the pattern recognizer on as large a scale as it is. You know what I mean? You can't be stumbling around in little people's existences, all that metacognitively. You know what I mean? It's like it's all very unconscious, and unconscious not in a way that means like, oh, it unconsciously chooses people and picks them. It's like, no, unconscious in the way that it's like truly unconscious thrashing, and it's like you are just caught in the convulsions. But it's like, hey man, at least you get to be caught in the convulsions. You know what I mean? You're all along for the ride. Might as well enjoy it. So, very important. In relation to the last framework, right? It created problems because whenever you got to the point where you were at silence with thought textures, you did not know how to address that, because according to you, reality was, inherently silent. And it was like, where did the thought textures come into the picture? But with the yawning infinite, it's like, because in the old framework, it was like the ego was supposed to be like on the same level as it's supposed to be. I'm just going to start saying I'm just going to hijack the word subcutaneous. I'm going to use it however the fuck I mean it. So anyways, I'm going to have to figure out what the fuck I was just talking about. In the last framework, you got to the point where you were at silence with thought textures, it got confusing because you were like, well, what point did the thought textures play in the silence? It's supposed to be just silence. And this one, you can realize it's like thought textures are inherently a part of the silence. It's like the silence and the thought textures are both the same. They're both awareness. And it's like, well, the silence is the most accurate portrayal. It's like you need the thought textures to see the silence. It's like you need the pattern recognizer to make out the sand. The sand may be the silence. You know what I mean? The sand is the silence. But it's like, without something to draw the line between the stars, to draw the line between the grains of sand, you know what I mean? There's nothing there. So, you know, it makes it where, in the last framework, the thought textures would come up and you just wouldn't know what to do with them. And they would cloud it, and you'd have to run the sort of metacognitive framework to try and figure out, like, do I suppress them? Do I try to change them into a sort of happy thought texture? That's what we tried to do at one point. You know what I mean? We tried to make it where it's like, what if we replace it with like good feeling thought textures? Or we try to make an ego that goes above the thought textures. Like, we tried all this shit. But it's like, what if instead you just made a thought textures? You just looked at them as just like baggage along for the infinite. Baggage along the voyage of staring at the infinite. So it's like, it's just a part of the journey. I mean, it's just a part of the pattern recognizing, and you just carry it with you. And it's like, it's not you. The ego is not you. It's just, it's the backpack you're carrying as you venture through this little angle of infinity. Also, the issue, we were taking ourselves too seriously. You know what I mean? Getting into arguments and all that schnazzle, you know what I mean? It's like, when you look at it through the lens of the cosmic void, it's like, you know what I mean? It's just all funny. That's what it is. It's funny. That kind of ties in with the metacognitive lens we were talking about. Explore that farther. The metacognitive, the yawning chasm, perhaps. That's what we'll be now. Hi, I'm a metacognitive yawning chasm. Nice to meet you. So acid and the yawning chasm are like the same thing. They're both just like chaos, the precipice of the unknown. And that's sort of interesting. It's sort of like, literally the colors that repeat on acid, the sort of bubble colors, sort of technological water on the screen colors. Ones that like stretch out and touch everything, and everything melts into like rainbow TV static. That shit is what makes up the void. That is the silence. That is the subcutaneous fluid. That is the substance beneath the pattern. You betcha. This thing solves all the problems. Oh, you get that feeling of depression creeping up on you, and it's like, oh, bro, I want to be depressed. I'm supposed to be the prophet of the infinite. I was like, okay, you can be depressed as the prophet of the scowling void. You know, it's like, it doesn't care. No standards. You know what I mean? Yeah, man, there are really like only upsides to this thing. Man, it's that feeling of the inherent, the pattern between everything. So in other words, that artistic, so the thing that makes art, right? That thing that makes comedy, the precipice of the unknown, that unpredictable, that is the important thing, the unpredictable. That is what makes up the infinite, is the unpredictable. And the unpredictable, there's no word, that thing, the substance beneath the pattern. The substance beneath the pattern. The substance beneath the pattern is what we're going to call the thought texture of acid. The substance beneath the pattern is that yawning void. The substance beneath the pattern is that feeling of bottomless infinity. Sporadic, writhing, conscious infinity. It's called the substance beneath the pattern. Had too much Sub-Zero? Getting the feeling of spiraling in your head, not accomplishing anything? Well, guess what? This one doesn't expect you to accomplish anything. This one just expects you to hold on for the ride. So guess what? Problem solved. So we'll give this one more go of every description we can possibly muster. So that feeling of just like, it's like the Joker-esque vibe, you know what I mean? The feeling of just like, hee hee ha ha, blowing someone's brains out, you know what I mean? It's just like absolute chaotic tomfoolery, just spiraling, dancing to nowhere, you know what I mean? Just driving a car off a bridge, you know what I mean? Just like positive chaos, just absolute chicoonery, you know what I mean? Unpredictability. Damn, that is the theme here. Unpredictability. You must be unpredictable. You must flow like water. Goes back to that pure intuition framework. This framework's going to be a beast. But anyway, so it's like, it is that feeling of just raw. Raw not in the sense of silent, but raw in the sense of thrashing, writhing, moving, being. The ebb and flow of thoughts. That feeling of the coming and going of tension. It's the only way I know how to explain it. That feeling on the come up of acid, and that feeling throughout the whole peak of the ebbs and flows of the feeling of something yet to come. That feeling of whenever your intuitive powers are blocked and all you can feel is that the storm is approaching. And that's the only thing you have on your radars is just, you're in it now. That I don't know how to explain it other than the yawning void, you know what I mean? The cosmic terror, the infinite blight, the vacuous massive consciousness, you know what I mean? It's just like, how do I explain the edges of the writhing? It almost feels like that one recording, the massive recording of the Phantom Framework, was meant to be lost to specifically spark the existentialism and acid baptism, which is very interesting. Very interesting synchronicity. Between me and Trevor, it's sort of what all this sprang out of was my, like, but we all die in the end. And he was like, basically, but isn't that beautiful? And I was like, it's depressing, but that's beautiful. And he was like, nah, it's just beautiful. And now I see it's like, it's not, it isn't depressing and beautiful. Depressing and beautiful become one incutaneous substance, or whatever the fuck the word is, subcutaneous substance. And that's the substance beneath the patterns. The goal should not be to, before, in relation to God, we were thinking like, it's a, like we were thinking, there is an infinite. What is this in relation to the infinite? And we try to find what we are and what our surroundings are. And that was the issue. Because it was like, what is this? Basically, we had to find something to put in relation to the infinite, when really it already was the infinite. And so essentially, the goal on this one isn't to find something to put in relation. The goal on this one is to simply realize that you are. And it doesn't leave you with any, like, the other one was trying to tell you what to do. This one doesn't tell you what to do. It just gives you the upper hand, which is much more interesting. And then the rest, that's on the cards, which provides the sort of you know, silly chicanery that's available among non-dualists, the freedom that's left in the void, which is very, very fascinating. So, there's a specific, it's like the psychedelic spelunking we were talking about, where it was like, there's a separate ego, and the separate ego watches what's going on. It's the same way in a full-on silence, reached through acid baptism. Is it's like, even after you reach the silence, there is going to be thought textures remaining. So there's going to be two separate egos. There's going to be the ego beneath the thought textures and the thought texture ego, and both are going to exist simultaneously. And the thought texture beneath the egos should be a sort of divine lightning, but not really. It can only be described as an acid baptism. It's a feeling of strength in chaos, strength in the face of knowing what we are, lost it. So there's going to be two separate egos, and one of them is going to be the ego of the infinite, the one that just feels like it's just drifting and has the power of the infinite. And there's going to be the separate ego, which is the human ego, and it's going to be doing its own shit in the thought texture realm. So, watch out for that. But as far as the vision, it's like it can drift off more. You got more room to cloud over because you simply exist as the pilot ego. Essentially, the theory I just got is that synchronicities increase with acid because acid is closer to the mind, the one mind, the subcutaneous fluid, the thing beneath the patterns, and the mad pattern. And essentially, because I really give a shit about this whole YouTube infinite business, I get synchronicities based around it. But if I was a rapper, I'd be getting synchronicities based on my fucking rap career, right? And essentially, the thing to take away from this is that I have no guaranteed success, but I must compete with my frameworks to achieve my synchronicities, which will be me taking over the world with my frameworks. So, but it's all. Perfection equals interactive. There's a perfection framework. There's a feeling whenever you get something perfect. There's a feeling whenever you get things right. And essentially, through acid baptism, you can reach a feeling where the thought texture ego feels like just like uncomfortable and like unpleasant. And it's just like, I'm dancing, and it doesn't know what's going on, and it's thrashing like a dementia patient, you know what I mean? It's just like, fucking bumbling from left to right through my skull. And typically it would be really fucking annoying if I was trying to discover like in relation to the holy light, but I'm not. I'm trying to discover in relation to the acid infinite. And because of that, the acid pattern, that's so obvious. That works so much better than anything with the mad pattern. The mad pattern does work really well too. But anyways, the point is, I don't know what the point is. I'm gonna have to go figure that out. Yeah, so the perfection framework. So essentially, while the ego goes bumbling around, the thought texture ego goes just bumbling around through your skull and is unhappy and discontent and just thrashing, right? Like the pattern recognizes through infinity will be to come into existence. You, the infinite, the patternizer, the mad pattern, is just like, yep, that's perfect. You know what I mean? Not a feeling of that's perfect. Not in the thought texture domain. Not a feeling of that's perfect. So in other words, it doesn't even feel like that's perfect. It just feels like, yes. Just going back to the Marx framework. It's the exclamation mark. It's the perfection. It is the ataraxy. It is the completion. It is the complacency. It is the contentness of being at home. Being at home as awareness in the sea of thought textures. Yeah, the pattern. But that's the thing about the patterns is that the thought texture thrashing, the feeling of being like held to the burner and just like screaming through the chaos, through that lens of indeterminacy, through that mad pattern. That is what is necessary to create pattern recognizers, to see the mad pattern in different angles, through different angles. And essentially, you can finally feel at home
at home in that chaos, because now you sit both with the thought textures that it is necessary to view yourself, and yet you also sit with the complacency of being yourself with the thought textures.
One of the best ways to explain it, or one way to explain it at least, is that feeling on acid whenever we don't know what to do. We're caught in between stages. We don't want to listen to music, and yet we don't want to sit in silence. And we've already taken 4 showers, and yet there's nothing to do outside because it's dark. And you just sit there, and it literally feels like, it feels like your body wants to transform into some other form and like literally fold into itself to find something else to do. It's just like, it wants to just like compact into itself and explode because it's just like writhing. It's just like a trapped animal. It's just like move, expand, yawn, like push outward, like grasp outward, but not in a logical way, not in like a emperor way, but in like a just insane, rabid conqueror. Just like do what you want. What you want is to conquer, and just do that sporadically.